Essay Topic 2. We have little sympathy for the self-centered lovers. Romeo and Juliet Discuss. A discuss question typically requires an in-depth answer that takes into account all aspects of the debate concerning an essay topic or argument. You must demonstrate reasoning skills with this type of question by using evidence to take a case for or against an argument. So look at evidence for and against the side ultimately taken. What points can you think of suggesting the statement might be true? What points suggest it might be untrue? This type of question lets you argue both sides of an argument. As long as you still come to a clear conclusion, you take one side. When an audience has sympathy for a character, it cares about what happens to them. It connects with them. It admires them, finds them relatable. Shakespeare creates sympathy for Romeo when Romeo kills Tybalt, after Tybalt kills Mercutio, and Romeo is banished for avenging his dead friend. Sympathy in Romeo and Juliet happens in these particular scenes. There are some simple steps to create your text response. Underline key words. Find synonyms and antonyms for these words. Brainstorm key arguments. Find your evidence. Write your plan. Here are some synonyms for the keyword self-centered. This will allow you to vary your vocabulary and to show that you have an expansive vocabulary. Here are some synonyms for the antithesis or the opposite to self-centeredness. And here's a checklist for aspects that you can search for in terms of self-centeredness regarding the two central characters, Romeo and Juliet. Here's another. After you've carefully looked at this checklist, ask yourself, are Romeo and Juliet self-centered? When are they self-centered? At the beginning, middle, or end of the play? In what setting, where are they self-centered? How are they self-centered? And why are they self-centered? What makes them self-centered? Now ask yourself, are we as an audience still sympathetic to Romeo and Juliet? Do we still care about them? Why so? Are we more sympathetic towards Juliet than Romeo? Why so? This sets up the structure for your essay. You could set it up almost like a comparative essay, where you show that one character is much more self-centered than the other, and one character is able to garner much more sympathy from an audience than the other. When you consider your audience, firstly consider an Elizabethan audience's perspective, then look at a contemporary audience's perspective. These are some aspects that you might look at when you are considering the Elizabethans' views on Romeo and Juliet, and whether or not they may have some sympathy for these two at different stages in the play. All of these slides are on a PowerPoint that I have created, and this PowerPoint can be looked at slowly at your leisure. Here's the criteria. The key criteria is that you remain relative throughout your essay to the key aspects in the question. You should also use meta-language, dramatic terminology in explaining your ideas. Here's some. Your key introduction should include contextual information or background information that is relevant to the question. And don't forget to include the form, a play. Here's some contextual information you may use. And here's some other contextual information that you may use, particularly in relation to gender. In your body paragraphs, you will use till twice. Topic sentence, evidence, explanation. Evidence, explanation. Linking sentence. Here is some evidence that you may gather, different forms of evidence. Notice symbols and juxtaposition. Particularly useful for when you are contrasting the characters. Make sure that you gather evidence to show the development of the two characters at the start, middle and end. How do they evolve, these characters? These are some symbols you may use in discussing and providing evidence for your essay. And here's some juxtaposition that is evident in the play. Here are some key points that you can use in your main bodies in relation to sympathy from the audience. With your conclusion, don't tell the reader you are concluding. Don't say, in conclusion, or finally. Rephrase, not repeat. Keep things short and sharp. The last line is where you get to really shine. It's the most important one too. Here's a chart that you could use to table your information about Romeo. And the following slides include information that you might put into this table. Here are some other aspects of Romeo. You can do the same with Juliet with a similar table. You can brainstorm why we may feel sympathy for her. You can use this information and the information that follows to put into the table, so long as it's relevant to the question. You could use a structure of triples within your main body paragraphs, using three aspects of the character, each of the characters in your main bodies, to compare and contrast against that self-centered aspect. Here you can decide whether Romeo is self-centered or not. I've highlighted the information in red for you to make it easy for you to consider this information and whether or not it makes him self-centered or not. And the following slides are highlighted in the same way. The main thing is that you understand that Romeo possesses both good and bad qualities. This is called antithesis. Here is some information about Juliet in terms of the 5 acts that may be relevant and helpful to you in deciphering how self-centered she may be, or whether or not she actually is or not. And here are some starters and words that you can use in writing your particular response. Some starting points as to how to phrase things in your essay. Remember that these slides are available to you so that you can look at them slowly in your own time. I've also provided for you an example of a similar essay that looks at Romeo and in terms of the sympathy that he garners from the audience. This is a whole essay about Romeo. Many thanks for listening to this